It's now my great honor to share a few words of Torah, and it's been a few weeks, and I kind of feel in some ways like when a reporter, when an anchor goes away for a few weeks and comes back and says, "So what's happened while I've gone?" And a lot has happened while I was gone. I was trying to process it. I was trying to think about it, and in many ways, I kept coming back to this week's portion, a moment in it that is always powerful, but perhaps even more so this year. In this week's portion, God reveals God's proper name, Yud He Vav He, to the people, to Moses, and then to the people of Israel. And just for a moment to kind of talk about Yud He Vav He and to make sure we all understand, right? This is the name we're talking about. Sometimes we call it the Tetragrammaton. Sometimes we call it Shema Mifarash, right? This is the name of God, the one that is not pronounceable, not at least by us, right? It's got some pronunciation, but not one known to us, one that we replace with the word Hashem, but it's an interesting name. It's an amazing name in and of itself, because this name, Yud He Vav He, it has all the tenses in it, right? In Hebrew, the word for past, the way we talk about what has happened in the past, is haya, what was, the hey, the yud, the hey. The way we talk about the present is hey, vav, vav, hey, hoveh, what is happening right now. And the way we talk about the future is yeh. And when we talk about this name of God, yud, hey, vav, hey, one of the things our rabbis teach us is that it's connected to the future, right? That out of all the different forms of the tenses here, out of Hayan, Hoven, Yeh, Adonai, Yud, He, Vav, He, it looks the most like Yeh. It's something that is built out of our past. God is present with us right now. But when we call upon God, our rabbis teach us, we're engaging in a future exercise, looking forward to what will be. So keeping that in mind, and then seeing that this week is the week that we end up receiving the name, I was curious, especially because God informs Moses this week that this name, God's real, true name, is one that God never made known to our ancestors, never made known to the likes of Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. God went by a different name, not Yud He Vav He. And here our rabbis ask, why did God not share this name with all of those ancestors, right? I mean, like, Moses is great, but so is Abraham and Sarah, so is Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. Why is this name only given at this moment to Moses as we sit in slavery in Egypt? Here, I want you to think back to long ago, to when you were a kid or to when you were raising your kids, if you've been so blessed. And I want you to think back on what you had to memorize in case you ever got lost. For me, I had to memorize, and we worked on this weekly. My name is David Winship. My parents are Christopher and Nancy Winship. My phone number is 617-738-8138. I live at 128 Laurel Road. I practiced this every week. And like, as a kid, I thought that it was just kind of for fun, right? To see if I could remember the phone number and things like that. But once it came to good use, once I was at the mall with my mother, and I was at one of those malls with a big entrance with a big anchor store with its own entrance, right? So that you could go straight into the anchor store. I don't remember, it was like the Dedham Mall back in the day, whatever the anchor store was there, or you could go into the regular mall entrance. And I must have been 7 or so, and I asked my mom if I could meet her at the entrance, and we didn't specify which, but she said yes. And so I walked from the car to the entrance, and I waited and waited, but she didn't show up. I had gone to the wrong entrance. I got nervous. I started to freak out. I wanted my mommy, but then my training kicked in. I found someone, an adult, and started repeating my piece. My name is David Winship. My parents are Christopher and Nancy Winship. My phone number is 617-738-8138. I live at 128 Laurel Road. You get the picture. The first adult I told brought me over to a security guard, to whom I again repeated my piece, and then my mother came running up. having figured out what happened, going over to the other entrance, seeing me, and being just so happy to see me. I ran to her. I gave her a huge hug. I didn't want to ever let go. So, what does this have to do with Moses? Our rabbis teach us that God didn't tell our ancestors God's full proper name until Moses, because before Moses, all of our ancestors lived in the land of Israel. They were at home. You don't need to know your parents' full name when you're at home. You can just call them dad or daddy, Abba, Ima, mom, your mom, any of the many names that we have, because home is safe. Home is comforting. It's a place where the rules and norms are clear. It's only once we're out in the world, far from home, that we need to know our parents' full names, to know where we come from and the number to call to get back there. Moses and the Jewish people in Egypt in slavery are far from home, far from comfort. So God makes sure that they know the divine's proper name, a name that can help Moses build trust in his leadership amongst the Israelites, a name that offers Moses the power and authority to stand before a ruler such as Pharaoh, a leader whose followers and himself believe him to be a living God, infallible and all-powerful. And perhaps here is where our portion offers some wisdom specifically for these times. When you are home, when everything is safe and comfortable, you don't really know the divine. When things are tough, when you are far away from redemption, when things seem their bleakest, when you are lost at the mall and freaking out, that is when you can come to know and can powerfully use the proper name and contact information for capital G good, for God. This is a dark time in our country. It has been hard for me to process what I have seen and read in the past week and a half since that fateful Wednesday. I've repeated many a time to my wife that I am thankful that it will be years before we have to explain that day to our daughter. To see a president and his supporters threaten another branch of government with violence and terror, as we saw on January 6th, should make it clear to all of us that in this country, with our elected officials and our Constitution as our parents, we are lost. We have become separated from our parents. We are far, far from home. And like that little 7-year-old me all those years ago outside the wrong entrance at the mall, I know we're terrified. Yet we as sensible adults, not as 7-year-olds, can also make this moment not just one of fear, but one in which we recognize the opportunity to formally return to democracy, government, and our Constitution. When God shows up to redeem us after 400 years of the lowest of lows, when the people of Israel won't listen to Moses, when Moses asks God how to properly address the divine, how to use a name to bring about immediate action in our world, God responds offering the divine name, Yud He Vav He. God does not offer one of the many names of comfort and closeness that belong to the divine. At this moment of pain here at the end of slavery, God does not say, call me the comforter, the compassionate one, the healer, the one of blessing. No, rather God goes with the most formal of names, one so formal that it is forbidden to say normally, similar to the trouble you'd get in if you ever called one of your parents by their first name, at least in my household. So too, in this moment, we must not turn to the comfort of our idealized vision of democracy. Rather, in this moment, we must call upon our government and our leaders' oaths to the Constitution formally, and with the help of others, formally return to them. We are lost, and it is oh so scary, but there are those willing to help us find our way back home, like that security guard and that other adult all those years ago. We, the American people, must be willing to not just ask for our mommies and daddies, not just to seek our comfort, but rather to call out the formal names of the great parents of our democracy. Hopefully, when we find them, a government and constitution in holy union, the hug we receive will be every bit as good as I remember it being when I hugged my mom all those years ago at the mall. Good Shabbos.